American icon, one of my favorite historical figures, General Robert E. Lee. You're going to love this tonight. I would think every American should want to watch this. We have in this documentary President Donald Trump praising Robert E. Lee. We have a great segment where President Eisenhower, wasn't it Eisenhower, Logan, explains why he had his picture in the Oval Office. Wasn't it Eisenhower, Logan? He explains why he had a picture of Robert E. Lee in his Oval Office. It's a great documentary. You're going to love it. Of course, we went out to D.C. for 8 days, filmed a ton of stuff, and we said this was coming. We went into Arlington House. They were so good to us. Let us film so much inside the house, produce this great documentary. All of you should go to Arlington House. There at Arlington National Cemetery. And of course, I think our next one's going to be on the Space Shuttle Discovery. We have several more of these to go. And of course, we have a brand new history channel that runs 24/7 at worldviewtube.com/history. Yeah. And our Bible prophecy channel, worldviewtube.com/prophecy. We have a health channel, worldviewtube.com/health. And we have a Bible channel, this 24-hour Bible teaching at worldviewtube.com/Bible. If you go to worldviewtube.com, look at the top of the page where it says TV, put your cursor over that or click it, and you'll see all those channels running 24/7, free of charge. Now, remember, folks, this is all brought to you in part by you through worldviewtube.com/sponsors. That's one way. Go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. And you'll find out about all the great products. By the way, we're about to have on with us Nick Hulscher. Look at this. Breaking news, breaking study. mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease. He's going to be with us here in just 1 second. Folks, we need your support. Here are all the great ways to support us. Worldview Talk. Get your own satellite phone like I have. I have a satellite phone. And you know the beautiful thing is? I haven't had to use it lately. But God forbid something happens, all my minutes, month to month, have been stored up. So you get into a bad cell area, put the cell phone away, pull out the satellite phone. I did that last summer. I was in an area where I had virtually no cell signal. No cell signal at all, Logan. That was my little Jiminy Glick impression. Worldviewtalk.com. Get your own satellite phone. And then satellite solar generator. Solar generators, I have one of theirs as well. You can get the bulletproof backpack, all of that at Worldview Talk. You can also use the 800 number. What is it, Logan? 1-866-738-3224. Did I do that right? Look at that, 1-866-738-3224. Worldview Healthcare, be your own urgent care. You don't have to go to the urgent care to get an antibiotic. You can just walk down the hall. Keep your own medicine kit, antibiotics on hand, particularly should we have a natural disaster, crisis, just-in-time inventory problem. You don't want to be without crucial medications. WorldviewHealthcare.com. Worldview Gold, if you want to put gold in your IRA, fill out the form, get the no risk packet of information. Bella Grace, I take it each and every day. I think I've already taken a pack, so I don't have it here with me tonight. But Bella Grace, the elixir, I take every day. A lot of times I take 2 a day. But love this powerful elixir. No cracked hands. They're not bleeding like they did for years. Collagen, high-end collagen, peptides cut short. So you actually have great hair growth, nail growth. Helps the lining of your gut, because your stomach's made of collagen. Lining is the lining. So that high-end collagen, I guess, helps stop my leaky gut, which stopped my hands from cracking. Man, I love this Bella Grace. Let's see what else. The coffee, the foundation, of course. One of the most powerful ways to support us is just making a regular contribution. And we are looking for more people who will make a regular monthly contribution. So consider setting up an automatic monthly contribution at worldviewfoundation.com. MelissaHouseGPA.com. That's my glutathione. My gatatana. That is the phytoplankton. Remember the guy that developed that? Gave a terminal diagnosis. He got one. Terminal diagnosis. Started eating this, lived another 10 years. I'm telling you. Provable. MelissaHouseGPA.com. Water. Drink great water. In my coffee mug tonight, I have water from the water filter. It's the water I also give to Dolly. And it's the water I have for my shower because I have one of the filters on my shower. Drink good water. You don't want to drink poisons. You don't want to drink chemicals. You don't want to drink pesticides. You don't want to drink someone else's pharmaceuticals. Now, do you? So there you go. Oh, and then I swish with this. I've already swished with this today, folks. Already, I've swished with this twice already today. Already. Why, you say? Already. So twice already. Because I'm on a little bit of a 3 or 4 day program where I'm swishing with this several times a day. I'm twice, but I should do another probably twice before I call it a day. Because I'm fighting a little something I've been fighting for months. I'm trying to fully knock it out, particularly related to the voice, because this is loaded with glutathione to detox my cells, okay? The studies show that glutathione helps remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. That's what I don't want. I don't want to end up like that. Do you? No, of course you don't. Glutathione is so important. All of this stuff is at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All right, so that's how we're going to do a lot of it tonight, folks. Nick Hulscher, and then our documentary of Robert E. Lee. And then we're going to bring on Dr. Bashima Williams, and we're going to talk about antioxidant stress. We're going to talk about regulating your health through diet. We never know where we're going with her because we can talk about anything. But they always end up being fascinating conversations with Dr. Bashima. That's why one reason why our worldviewtube.com/health, that channel is doing huge numbers. People just love the conversations we have with her. And of course, we end up putting conversations with Dr. Nick over there. Okay. He joins us now, epidemiologist Nick Hulscher, with his brand new article tonight. Breaking study, mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic diseases. All right, Dr. Nick, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Last night, laying there next to my beautiful wife, with Dolly in between us, of course, and the 2 mini schnauzers on her side of the bed. And we're laying there and we're trying to get sleepy, and all of a sudden we started talking. And she started talking about all these people that are dying. I'm like, Dave, I'm trying to clear my mind, go to sleep. She's talking about all the people that are dying, because I just had done an interview with Dr. Thorpe last night. And this study that's come out showing that we got 5,000, Ed Dowd, who I think is going to be on the broadcast next week, talking about 5,000 people a week dying in the U.S. Dr. Thorpe said that's way low. That's way low. It's probably closer to 15,000 a month that are dying or higher. And my wife said there just seems to be so many people dying. She said, I just read about it all the time, of all ages. And young people, of course, we're reporting on our Worldview report all the time about all these people dying. And now I've not had the shot. Neither has my wife. Nobody in my family's had the shot, in my immediate family. But we've had COVID several times. And that means we've got the spike proteins. And they're putting the mRNA in so much stuff. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know anymore. And I said to my wife, my parents are in their 80s. Her parents, her dad's 80, what is he, 88? Sharp as a tack. Her mom's alive in her 80s, 86, I think. I said to my wife, I don't know, maybe the Lord will take us home. I don't have to worry about it. But I said, barring the Lord returning, or coming and get us, I said, I used to think I come from a good line of genes. My great aunt lived to be like 101. My grandmother, I should say, lived to be in her like 91. Her father lived to be in his 90s. I come from a good line, a good stock, as they say. I said, but I'm starting to wonder that we may not live that long because of all the garbage they're putting in everything. And I don't know where this mRNA is showing up, even if I don't get the shot, but I've had COVID several times and people shedding on me. So I'm going to start with that before we go to this breaking study. How concerned should even those of us who have not had the shot be concerned that things are being done that are going to shorten our lifespan, which would otherwise maybe be into our 90s?
Yeah, the key thing we have to remember is that humanity was hit with dual biological weapons. When I say dual, I mean by the manufactured SARS-CoV-2 virus that was manufactured in collaboration with UNC Chapel Hill and Wuhan, the CCP. So we have that has exposed basically the entire population to the spike protein. But then we also had the second biological weapon, which was the mRNA injections, which installed about 7 times more spike into people and those who received it per injection. And now we do understand that this can indeed shed onto others, particularly when you're freshly vaccinated and you're producing high levels of spike protein. We do believe this can shed via what's called exosomes, either through your breath or through your bodily fluid. So yes, humanity has been hit by these weapons.
So I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but 56 years old. Am I going to be, barring I get run over by a car or a bus or something, am I going to make it to my 90s? Or are there, like my family history generally shows here? Or am I going to see my life shortened because of all this garbage? Again, I didn't take the shot, but I've had COVID several times, which means I've had the spike proteins, and people shed on us. And who knows where they're putting this mRNA, right? Are they putting it in the meat at the restaurant I'm eating? What is the likelihood that they're going to be decreasing the life expectancy of even those of us who didn't take the shot?
Yeah, it's hard for me, it's impossible for me to predict exactly what you specifically will face, or even what I specifically will face, or really any specific person unless they were diagnosed, with a severe adverse event. But one thing that is clear is population-wide life expectancy was increasing right since the 60s. It's kind of kept increasing, and then all of a sudden it's dropping back down. Now why is that? Because now we have not only been exposed to those dual biological weapons, but it's so many other things as well, such as widely spraying pesticides everywhere, childhood vaccines, microplastics, EMF radiation. So many things now are bombarding us, and it is resulting in reductions in life expectancy, unfortunately, and a massive increase in chronic disease that really does shave off the health status of many people.
Yeah, well, I'm watching my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law, enjoy their grandchildren, going to their weddings, and then watching their grandchildren have children, and going to the parties for their great-grandchildren. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to do that. My parents are doing the same thing. My parents are going to the weddings of their grandkids. Now they're getting to, be around their great-grandchildren. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to miss out on that. I want to be able to go to my grandkids' weddings. I want to be able to be around for my great-grandkids. So, I take health, very, very seriously. You can have a lot of things in life, but if you don't have your health, what do you really got, right? So I'm not doing a commercial here, but I'm telling you, I do this high-end collagen. I do these high-end antioxidants. I do the glutathione. I do the phytoplankton gaditana. I'm doing everything I can to try to not only to be healthy, but I feel like I have to do all these things to offset all this other stuff that's now come into our life. As an epidemiologist, are you doing the same things?
Yes, I am taking many proactive supplements, and many lifestyle choices, particularly going outside and getting as much sunlight as possible, exercising, getting away from the screen for a long time. But yes, ensuring I'm eating whole foods, right? Wholesome foods, not hyper-processed garbage. So I'm ensuring I'm getting these adequate minerals and vitamins and nutrients that I need, as well as, yes, taking supplemental vitamin C, sometimes magnesium, sometimes glutathione, and many of these things. And yes, so I am trying to protect myself from these wide-scale attack of toxins that we currently face.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. All right, so there you go. So my wife and I's conversation last night is echoing with you then. You're concerned about the decline in longevity of people.
Yes, I am. I am deeply concerned, but I am still mostly concerned about those who receive the gene altering injections.
Well, let's go to that then. Here's this study. This is breaking news tonight, folks. mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease. All right, tell us about this. What's in here, Doc?
Yeah, so this study is truly groundbreaking. We have actually discovered that in vaccinated individuals who receive these mRNA injections have severely dysregulated gene expression function. So basically, thousands of genes were either turned on or off, and thus producing or not producing the proteins that the cells were supposed to be producing. So it induces widespread genetic dysregulation linked to mitochondrial failure, immune reprogramming, and oncogenic activation, so cancerous activity in the body. And you have to remember, we looked at in the blood of vaccine injured individuals, those who develop new onset cancers and those with cardiovascular and neurological adverse events, and we compared their blood to a healthy control group of about 800 blood samples. These were pre-COVID blood samples, so this was a very solid control group, and we did find so many distinct gene expression, or what's called transcriptomic alterations, and this is so worrisome. And it's the first study, to our knowledge, where actually we do see long-term genetic disruptions from these shots. And I want to give credit to Neo7 Bioscience. Headed the study was Dr. John Catanzaro, as well as University of North Texas. McCullough Foundation was on this study as well as Medicinal Genomics, Kevin McKernan and his team. So this was a big effort, and we really do hope this does expose the serious molecular harms that these shots induce.
So mitochondrial dysfunction. So this is triggering changes at the cellular level and creating mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, protein folding and degradation stress, is that like antioxidant stress or what?
Yeah, so literally, so when the cells start to express proteins, right, through what's called these ribosomes, right, the mRNA will go through the ribosomes. We have identified dysregulated genes that indicate that all of these systems, all of these intracellular systems of producing proteins has literally just been completely thrown out of whack. And that's why these patients developed these chronic conditions and cancers. And so literally all those things listed there are contributing, and they were significantly upregulated or downregulated compared to the control group.
Now, when you say that this is, at the beginning, genetic disruption, does that mean they're going to pass on the genetic disruption to their children?
It's possible. We weren't able to or directly measure genomic integration or what's called reverse transcription in the study, but these findings do indicate that probably this plasmid DNA from the manufacturing process probably integrated, and that's why we see so many different genetic dysregulation signals. So we do think that it is the case, but specifically in the study, just in layman's terms, so gene expression is different in that gene expression is actually RNA producing proteins, right? So that's what's become dysregulated here. Now the next step is to look into like the nucleus of these cells and look specifically in the genome for installation of Pfizer and Moderna. We haven't done that yet, but we do plan to.
Okay, so you had the study and analyzed whole blood RNA profiles, 3 patients with new onset adverse events, neurological, cardiovascular, chronic fatigue, following their mRNA vaccination. 7 patients newly diagnosed with cancer post-mRNA vaccination. Tell me about those.
Yes. So they developed cancer or these adverse events within a set period of time. So it was within a year of their last vaccination. They were screened previously. They didn't have any any genetic abnormalities. You know, they didn't have any heritable diseases. They weren't at risk of anything before. Then they got the vaccine and they were diagnosed with these new cancers or adverse events. And so it's clear that it was induced by these mRNA injections. And so that's why we looked into their blood to see, well, what was going on? What changed in their molecular profiles? You know, what's going on in the inner workings of their cells? And this is what we found. We did identify this severe genetic dysregulation of these genes turning on and off, thousands of them, just doing stuff that they're not supposed to be doing in specifically those vaccine injured individuals. And it's so worrisome because we have to remember 70% of the population, over 80% of Americans took one of these mRNA shots. So these implications are profound. The military biomedical pharma complex has compromised the genetic integrity of the entire population, and they have to stop this immediately.
And what about mRNA in other things? Food. I mean, how long do I have to worry that I'm going to a steakhouse and I'm getting a steak with mRNA in it?
I wouldn't worry particularly about steak and mRNA. Now, they have a bunch of plans to be doing this. Now, according to what's going on now at the current moment, there should not be any mRNA in animal products that we're aware of. They are testing mRNA in animals, and they don't label it when they test it. They might just throw it in the food supply. So there is a very remote chance you can consume it, but that's not something I would worry about at the current moment. But they do have plans to spray plants with RNA technologies. John Fleetwood, his Substack, he reported on this. Moderna's, they made a different company where they literally are planning to spray crops with synthetic RNA. It's going to change how these plants operate, and then we're going to be consuming it. And yeah, they do have plans for mRNA injections. But one key thing I want to mention, and this is very important, the USDA last year approved self-amplifying mRNA injections for our cats and our dogs for rabies and a few other things. And these are authorized and they're widely available for online purchase. And so veterinarians across the country are currently injecting self-amplifying mRNA into our pets. This can probably shed onto humans, and this has to be stopped.
Has it started? Has that started yet? Has that started
yet? Yes. If you look up Novavax NXT, it's the platform developed by Merck. You will find it online, and you can even buy it. It's like $400.
Okay, so how do I know whether my dog, Dolly, who's a year old now, got that as a puppy? Because I don't give my dog shot, okay? I figured a long time ago, even before COVID, that these shots were probably crucial to the cause of cancer. So I basically said, go pound sand, you morons. Oh, you guys want my dog to have a little tag that says they've got their rabies shots? You know, sorry, not going to happen. You want me to write you a little check, $20 for a ticket or whatever? Not going to happen. I mean, I might write you a check, but I'll write the check before I give the shot to the dog every year. That's the stupidest thing in the world. I'm now hearing from veterinarians that these rabies shots should last probably the lifetime. One shot should last the lifetime for your dog. Same thing with many of these other vaccine shots, by the way. Okay. So my dog got whatever she got before she came to me from the breeder, but she's not getting any more. Do I have to worry that she has the mRNA shot and is shedding on me when she sleeps in the bed with me?
Your dog. When was your dog last vaccinated for rabies? When was his first vaccine or his only vaccine?
Born May 16th, 2024.
2024. So, I mean, if you can check the vet records to see what rabies shot they gave, it's probably unlikely they gave the self-amplifying one. But you can check and see which brand they gave it. I am expecting that there's a lot of unsuspecting people that are not aware that they are injecting the self-amplifying mRNA versions. But yeah, you're right. It's not smart to go and hyper-vaccinate your pets. It is linked to so many problems. Like you said, cancers. My own dog developed a fatal a fatal jaw cancer after receiving a battery of about 4 vaccines, and he died a slow and painful death. And so ever since then, I mean, this was before COVID, before everything. My family thought vaccines were fine, and so that's what happens, and that's what's happened to so many dogs. And so, yeah, at this point in time, I would try and avoid to be hyper vaccinating your animals.
And so what you're saying, though, is tonight we may have viewers whose dog does have these mRNA shots, and therefore the dog is shedding the mRNA on them.
It's possible if their dogs or cats receive the Novavax NXT self-amplifying RNA particles, it's possible they are either shedding the self-amplifying RNA or the antigen products that the dogs or cats are now producing onto the owners, their bodily fluids. And so none of this was tested, by the way. They just authorized it anyways because they don't care. And so it's completely unknown, really, at this point.
What can you do? If that's the case, you find out that your pet did get that, what does the owner do?
I mean, I guess if I was an owner and my dog or cat was unsuspectingly injected with this, maybe I would go to a lab and see exactly, is this what's happening to my dog? Is he still producing this antigen? Maybe see if it does stop and go away. But it appears if he or she was inoculated with this, there's not much hope that we have at the moment because we really don't know anything about this injection.
And again, I'm not trying to promote something per se, but I take a lot of glutathione. Is this another reason why people should be taking things like that to detox their cells?
Yes, this is exactly why you want to be taking potent antioxidants, particularly if you suspect you are exposed to a high burden of toxins, because then your body won't be able to handle it. So yes, indeed, taking these products to help protect your body is vital.
Now, here's the article I found. Moderna's parent company now spraying RNA into your food. July 24, 2025, John Fleetwood, flagship pioneering the company that founded Moderna, is now genetically programming crops with synthetic RNA sprays designed to persist in plant tissues. This is fact, huh?
Yes, this appears to be in the pipeline. They are manufacturing these. They are testing these out. As you can see, collaborations with all sorts of military agencies and regulatory agencies. And so they are trying to move forward with the genetic manipulation of humans, plants, and animals.
Drone spray self-spreading COVID-19 vaccine for large area inoculation of humans and diffuse EcoHealth DARPA project. Where was that done?
Yeah, this really was quite disturbing. Drone spray self-amplifying COVID vaccines. I mean, it's just so what happens is the military, like you see DARPA and their contractors, they appear to routinely develop and test very dystopian technologies such as this. So spraying vaccines from drones, spraying vaccines or mRNA onto crops. And the next thing, and you'll be shocked by this, is the next thing is actually they have made floss into a vaccine.
Dental floss?
They have made dental floss into a vaccine. If you type it in on Google, you'll find it. It's ridiculous. So the thing is there's a coating on the floss. So you go and floss, and then this coating gets into your gum tissue and it absorbs. And so that's their next plan, is to kind of introduce vaccines through all these different routes. You can't even escape them.
Engineers transform dental floss into needle-free vaccine. New method places inactivated viruses directly into mice's gums. July 22nd, 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to a point where it's absolutely crazy of what the vaccine ideologues are up to. And they've gotten away with millions and millions of injuries and deaths, and then they just move forward to this and try and brush what has happened previously under the rug, and it's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Yeah, I would say it is. Wow. All right, let's have everybody go and take a good look at Substack. We're going to get Nick's Substack up here. Where did Nick's go? I thought I had Nick's up here. Let's go. There it is. Breaking study, mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease. That's at Focal Points, thefocalpoints.com, thefocalpoints.com. And everybody should follow him right there and on X. What's your X handle?
Yes, my X handle is at Nick Hulscher, at NICHULSCHER.
There it is on the screen, I think. Is that on the screen? I can't see it that far away. But anyway, I hope you guys will find it. I usually pull it up here, but I didn't tonight. But I do hope you'll go to thefocalpoints.com, thefocalpoints.com. Breaking study right here tonight on Worldview Tube. Nick Hulscher is a team player, man. He texted that to me, told me yesterday this was coming, and we've got it tonight. Nick, as always, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Nick Hulscher, there you go. Check it out, thefocalpoints.com. And we'll be back after this break as we get ready to debut our brand new Robert E. Lee, General Robert E. Lee documentary. We'll be right back.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed. All right, welcome back from the break. Here we go. I hope you have put it out. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Let everybody know we are about to debut right now here on Friday night, July 25th, 2025, the Robert E. Lee Arlington House documentary that we have been telling you was coming. It is awesome. Logan has done an amazing job, and there are more to come. And these kind of free documentaries are brought to you by you. So please remember, go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors and use some of these great products, because that's how they pay us, is when you purchase, all right? You got to use these products for us to get paid, and we don't promote things that we don't believe in or don't use ourselves. So I have no problem telling you to go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors and use these products. And you'll be supporting, I think, your health and us at the same time. Then, of course, you can just go to worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution. Worldviewfoundation.com and help us continue to push out free educational and ministry programming like what you're about to see. Here it is, the premiere of our Worldview Tube documentary on General Robert E. Lee and the Arlington House.
And I was talking about people that went because they felt very strongly about the monument to Robert E. Lee, a great general, whether you like it or not. He was one of the great generals. I've spoken to many generals here, right at the White House. And many people thought of the generals. They think that he was maybe their favorite general. People were there protesting the taking down of the monument of Robert E. Lee. Everybody knows that. So Robert E. Lee was a great general. And Abraham Lincoln developed a phobia. He couldn't beat Robert E. Lee. He was going crazy. I don't know if you know this story, but Robert E. Lee was winning battle after battle after battle. And Abraham Lincoln came home. He said, I can't beat Robert E. Lee. And he had all of these generals. They looked great. They were the top of their class at West Point. They were the greatest people. There's only one problem. They didn't know how the hell to win. They didn't know how to fight. They didn't know how. And one day, it was looking really bad. And Lincoln just said, you hardly knew his name. And they said, don't take him. he's got a drinking problem. And Lincoln said, I don't care what problem he has, you guys aren't winning. And his name was Grant, General Grant.
I just want to take a word about this book. I think there are a good many of you people here, both photographers and representatives of the press, have been going into my office for the past 4.5 years, occasionally. No doubt you've noticed that on the walls there are the prints of 4 men. Men that I consider, in my book, are about the 4 top Americans of the past. They are Franklin, Washington, Lincoln, and Lee. And anybody who ever tries to put me in any other relationship with respect to General Lee is mistaken.
Dear Mr. President, at the Republication Convention, I heard you mention that you have the pictures of 4 great Americans in your office, and that included in these is a picture of Robert E. Lee. I do not understand how any American can include Robert E. Lee as a person to be emulated, and why the President of the United States of America should do so is certainly beyond me. The most outstanding thing that Robert E. Lee did was to devote his best efforts to the destruction of the United States government, and I am sure that you do not say that a person who tries to destroy our government is worthy of being held as one of our heroes. Will you please tell me just why you hold him in such high esteem? Sincerely yours, Leon W. Scott.
Dear Dr. Scott, respecting your August 1st inquiry, calling attention to my often expressed admiration for General Robert E. Lee, I would say, first, that we need to understand that at the time of the war between the states, the issue of secession had remained unresolved for more than 70 years. Men of probity, character, public standing, and unquestioned loyalty, both North and South, had disagreed over this issue as a matter of principle from the day our Constitution was adopted. General Robert E. Lee was, in my estimation, one of the supremely gifted men produced by our nation. He believed unswervingly in the constitutional validity of his cause, which, until 1865, was still an arguable question in America. He was a poised and inspiring leader, true to the high trust reposed in him by millions of his fellow citizens. He was thoughtful, yet demanding of his officers and men, forbearing with captured enemies, but ingenious, unrelenting, and personally courageous in battle, and never disheartened by a reverse or obstacle. Through all his many trials, he remained selfless almost to a fault, and unfailing in his faith in God. Taken altogether, he was noble as a leader and as a man, and unsullied as I read the pages of our history. From deep conviction, I simply say this: a nation of men of Lee's caliber would be unconquerable in spirit and soul. Indeed, to the degree that present-day American youth will strive to emulate his rare qualities, including his devotion to this land as revealed in his painstaking efforts to help heal the nation's wounds once the bitter struggle was over. We, in our own time of danger in a divided world, will be strengthened and our love of freedom sustained. Such are the reasons that I proudly display the picture of this great American on my office wall. Sincerely, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Wait, Robert E. Lee are not the same.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture.
Brandon House, and welcome to Worldview Tube's history of Arlington House, the home of General Robert E. Lee. The Arlington House, it's a historic Greek revival mansion nestled within Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. It overlooks the Potomac River and Washington, D.C. The house was built between 1802 and 1818 by George Washington Parke Custis, the step-grandson of George Washington. This house was designed as a living memorial to the nation's first president. Its grand columns and commanding view reflect the young republic's reverence for Washington's legacy. George Washington Parke Custis, born in 1781. He was the grandson of Martha Washington through her first marriage to Daniel Parke Custis. After his father's death, he was raised by George and Martha Washington at Mount Vernon, fostering a deep devotion to his step-grandfather's legacy. In 1802, he began constructing Arlington House on land inherited from his father, intending it as both a home and a shrine to Washington, filled with family heirlooms like china and portraits. A writer and an orator, Custis was known for his theatrical performances and support for the American Colonization Society, though he freed few of his own enslaved people. His wife, Mary Lee Fitzhugh Custis, born in 1788. She came from a prominent Virginia family. Her father, William Fitzhugh, he served in the Continental Congress. An Episcopal lay leader, Mary was deeply religious, fostering her family's spiritual life and supporting education for enslaved individuals at Arlington. She and George married in 1804, and their only surviving child, Mary Anna, married Robert E. Lee. The couple's lives were centered at Arlington, where they entertained guests and raised their family amidst the plantation's operations. On the first floor of Arlington House lies Mr. and Mrs. Custis' chamber, bedrooms steeped in both joy and sorrow. This bedroom was where George and Mary Custis spent their final years, and both passed away here in the 1850s. Mary in 1853 and George in 1857. The room, furnished with period pieces like their bed and personal items, reflects their status as the estate's patriarch and matriarch. George loved sharing stories with his grandchildren, while Mary nurtured their religious upbringing. Their granddaughter, Agnes Lee, wrote in 1857, quote, "We miss him more and more every moment. Everything around us reminds us so forcibly of him who has left it forever," end quote. She captured the profound loss that was felt in this space. The chamber, it stands as a poignant reminder of their lives and the legacy they left to their daughter and son-in-law. George Washington Parke Custis and Mary Lee Fitzhugh Custis. They were laid to rest on the grounds of Arlington House. Their graves marking the earliest burials of what would become Arlington National Cemetery. George, who died on October 10, 1857, was the first veteran buried on the estate, a fitting tribute to his devotion to Washington's memory. Mary, who passed away in 1853, was also buried here, alongside her husband. Their graves, located near the mansion, well, they symbolize the deep connection between the Custis family and the land that they shaped. These burials predate the cemetery's official establishment in 1864, when Union soldiers began to be interned on the grounds, thus transforming the estate into a national memorial.
Well, it's raining here today at Arlington National Cemetery. We've just been visiting the Arlington House, what is also known as the home of Robert E. Lee, but it was actually founded by his father-in-law and mother-in-law. After some searching, we found their burial plot. George Washington Parke Custis. He was the grandson of Martha Washington, the wife, obviously, of President George Washington. So George Washington Parke Custis, that's who had this house built here on this land, known now as Arlington National Cemetery, in the Arlington House. His wife, Mary Custis. Their daughter, married General Robert E. Lee.
In 1857, the estate passed to the daughter of Mr. Custis, Mary Anna Randolph Custis, who married Robert E. Lee in 1831. For 30 years, the Lees called Arlington home, raising their 7 children here. Yet, this was also a plantation, dependent on labor of nearly 100 enslaved individuals, whose stories are integral to understanding this place. In April of 1861, as the Civil War loomed, Robert E. Lee faced a heart-wrenching decision right here: to lead the U.S. Army or join his native Virginia. His choice to resign and command Confederate forces marked a turning point, not just for him, but for this house and the land. Seized by Union forces in May of 1861, the estate became a military outpost, and by 1864, burials began on its grounds, birthing Arlington National Cemetery. After the war, the house fell into disrepair until Congress authorized its restoration in 1925. In 1955, it was designated the Custis Lee Mansion, honoring Lee's efforts to heal a divided nation. Today, managed by the National Park Service, Arlington House invites us to explore its rooms, reflect on themes of duty, sacrifice, citizenship, loyalty, slavery, and freedom. So, join us on this journey through history. As we enter the white parlor, we step into a room that evolved with the needs of the Lee family. Originally a storage space, painting studio, and a playroom for the Lee children, it was transformed in 1855 by Robert E. Lee into the main parlor for entertaining guests. The elegant white decor with period furnishings like upholstered chairs and ornate tables, well, it reflects the family's social aspirations. This room was a hub of hospitality where the Lees welcomed neighbors, dignitaries, and friends. Imagine the laughter of children echoing here in its early days, contrasted with the formal gatherings of the 1850s as the nation edged toward conflict. The parlor's transformation, well, it mirrors the Lees and their efforts to maintain grace and stability in turbulent times. Moving to the family parlor, we stand in a space rich with personal and historical significance. It was here on June 30th, 1831, that Robert E. Lee and Mary Custis exchanged vows, beginning their life together. A portrait of Mary, painted in her youth, well, it hangs above the fireplace. Her gaze, a constant presence in this room. The family parlor was the heart of daily life, where the Lees gathered for morning prayer and evening prayers, shared stories, and hosted guests. Remarkably, this room also witnessed the weddings of enslaved couples. Mariah Carter and Charles Syphax in 1821, and Selena Norris and Thornton Gray later on. Ceremonies officiated by the same Episcopal minister who married the Lees. These events highlight the complex social dynamics of Arlington House, where the lives of the free and enslaved intertwine. The room's furnishings, including reproduction paintings and period furniture, they invoke the warmth and complexity of these gatherings. The dining room, it was the center of family meals and formal entertaining. At its heart is a table set with china, once owned by George and Martha Washington. It was cherished. It was an heirloom that Mary Custis Lee inherited from her family. These delicate pieces, adorned with intricate patterns, connect this room to the nation's founding era. Here the Lees shared meals with their children and entertained prominent guests, blending everyday family life with their status as a leading Virginia family. The room's decor, with its elegant table settings and reproduction artwork, reflects both their personal warmth and their historical legacy. As we linger here, we can almost hear the clink of china and the murmur of conversations from a bygone era. As I stood there looking into the dining room, I couldn't help but contemplate the conversations that were held in that room by many people, including Robert E. Lee and Andrew Jackson of my home state of Tennessee. In the morning room, located in the south wing, we encounter a space that adapted to the creative and practical needs of its occupants. Originally, it was the formal dining room. It became George Washington Parke Custis' painting studio, where he pursued his passion for art, creating works that celebrated American history. By 1850, it served as Mary Lee's study and office, where she managed the household affairs and expressed her own creativity. The room's furnishings, including a writing desk and period art supplies, reflects its dual role as a space for both artistic expression and estate management. Mary's presence here underscores her role as a capable partner to Robert E. Lee. She oversaw the plantation during his frequent military assignments. The office and studio. It is a room of profound historical weight. It was here, at this very desk, that Robert E. Lee penned his resignation letter from the U.S. Army on April 20th, 1861. He chose to defend Virginia as the Civil War began. This decision was made in the quiet of this room, and it altered the course of his life and the nation's history. Remarkably, this same desk was used by President Gerald Ford in 1975 to sign a resolution restoring Lee's U.S. citizenship, a symbolic act of national reconciliation. The room's simple furnishings, including the desk and period writing tools, they stand as witnesses to these pivotal moments, bridging the divide between conflict and healing. Though typically closed to visitors, the second floor offers a glimpse into the private lives of the Lee family. In their bedroom, we find the original bed where Robert and Mary Lee rested, a tangible link to their personal moments. About 1/3 of the home's furnishings, including this bed, are original, while most paintings are reproductions, preserving the historical essence of the space. The second floor also housed bedrooms for the Lee children and sitting areas where they studied and played. These private quarters were a sanctuary for the family, offering solace amidst the growing tensions of the pre-war years. As we imagine the Lees in these intimate spaces, we connect with their humanity and the challenges they faced. Now we turn our attention to a smaller yet profoundly significant structure nearby, the Robert E. Lee Museum. It's housed in what was once said to be a humble potting shed. When we were there, we almost passed it by. It was only out of pure curiosity that I stopped and said to my wife and son, "What is this building?" It was very small. I didn't have a clue as to what it was. I wasn't sure we were even supposed to enter this little building. But curiosity got the best of me. I opened the door, and to my amazement, this little shed was filled with, well, extremely interesting and I think important heirlooms of Robert E. Lee. Join us as we explore these treasures and the stories they tell, connecting us to a pivotal era in American history. As we step inside the Robert E. Lee Museum, we are greeted by a carefully curated collection of artifacts that span Lee's personal and public life. Each item displayed in this modest space, well, it tells a unique story, connecting us to the man behind the legend and the historical context of his time. One of the most significant artifacts here is a handwritten copy of Robert E. Lee's resignation letter from the U.S. Army. It was dated April 20th, 1861. It was in Arlington House's office that Lee penned this letter. marking his decision to leave the Army that he had served for 36 years and thus join the Confederate cause. The letter addressed to General Winfield Scott, his mentor and friend. It reads in part, quote, "I have felt that I ought not longer to retain my commission in the Army, save in the defense of my native state. I never desire again to draw my sword," end quote. This document, it symbolizes the profound conflict that Lee faced between his loyalty to the United States and his allegiance to Virginia, a decision that altered his life and the nation's history. Displayed in a protective case, it invites us to reflect on the personal and moral dilemmas of the Civil War era. Displayed alongside the letter is one of Lee's personal guns, a tangible link to his military career. As a career officer in the U.S. Army before the war and later as a Confederate general, Lee's life was deeply intertwined with military service. This firearm, likely used during his time in the field, reflects his role as a skilled and strategic leader whose decisions shaped the course of the Civil War. The gun, with its worn grip and historical weight, stands as a reminder of the conflict that defined Lee's legacy and the nation's history. Another deep personal item is Lee's Bible, which he carried with him during the Civil War. For Lee, faith was a cornerstone of his life, providing comfort and guidance during the turbulent years of conflict. This Bible, with its worn pages and possible notes, offers a glimpse into the spiritual side of a man often remembered for his military skills. Displayed in a case, it reminds us that even in the midst of war, Robert E. Lee sought solace in his faith, finding strength in the words and pages of the Bible. In a small case, we find a lock of General Lee's hair, a memento from the Victorian era when keeping tokens of loved ones was a common practice. Finally, the museum houses a set of dishes inherited from Martha Washington and passed down through the Custis family to Mary Custis Lee, Robert E. Lee's wife. These delicate pieces, adorned with intricate patterns, link Arlington House to Mount Vernon, the home of George Washington. They highlight the interconnectedness of these prominent Virginia families. George Washington Parke Custis, Mary's father, he built Arlington House as a memorial, as we said, to his step-grandfather, George Washington. And these dishes, well, they serve as a tangible connection to America's founding era. Displayed eloquently, they invoke the historical legacy that the Lees inherited and preserved. Each of these artifacts in the Robert E. Lee Museum, well, they tell a story, not just about Robert E. Lee, but of the broader history of America during a time of great division and change. From the weighty decisions of resignation to the intimate tokens of family life, these items offer a multifaceted view of a man whose legacy continues to be debated and studied. The museum also acknowledges the stories of the enslaved individuals who lived and worked at Arlington, thus providing a more complete picture of this historic site. Upon the death of George Custis in 1857, Robert E. Lee became executor of his estate and thus inherited nearly 200 enslaved people across Arlington, White House, and Roman Coke plantations. The will of Mr. Custis mandated their emancipation within 5 years, but the estate was burdened with significant debts. Lee was tasked with stabilizing the finances of the plantation, and thus, sometimes, he hired out the slaves to separate families, which led to resistance from those aware of their impending freedom. He petitioned courts to extend his control, believing more time was needed to clear the debts. In 1863, Lee fulfilled the will's terms, freeing the slaves just after the Emancipation Proclamation. Lee's views on slavery, they were complex, but they were also reflective of his time. In a December 27, 1856 letter to his wife, Lee wrote, quote, "There are few, I believe, in this enlightened age who will not acknowledge that slavery as an institution is a moral and political evil in any country," end quote. At the end of the war, Lee expressed relief at slavery's end, stating in an 1865 letter to his cousin, Marquis Williams, quote, "I am rejoiced that slavery is abolished. I believe it will be greatly for the interest of the South," end quote. These quotes reveal a man torn between personal morality and societal norms, navigating the economic realities of a debt-ridden plantation as well. Selina Norris Gray, born in 1823. She was a second-generation enslaved woman at Arlington House, daughter of Leonard and Sally Norris. As Mary Custis Lee's personal maid and later head housekeeper, she played a pivotal role during the Civil War. When the Lees evacuated Arlington in May of 1861 due to Union occupation, Mary entrusted Selina with the household keys, tasking her with protecting the family's possessions, including priceless Washington heirlooms like china and furniture. As Union soldiers occupied the estate, cutting down trees and looting items, Selina noticed artifacts disappearing. She boldly confronted soldiers, declaring they should not touch Mrs. Lee's things, and appealed to Union General Irvin McDowell, ensuring many heirlooms were sent to the Patent Office for safekeeping. After the war, Selina remained connected to the Lees. In November of 1872, he wrote to Mary Custis Lee, describing Arlington's transformation. Quote, "It is a most lovely place. Now everywhere around it looks beautiful. There is not a tree to be seen except in the cemetery. Your things at the time of the war was taken away by everybody," end quote. Her letter, it expressed both the loss of the estate's former glory and her hope to see Mrs. Lee return, reflecting her loyalty despite her enslaved status. Selina's actions and correspondence, they highlight the contributions of enslaved individuals to Arlington's history, and it's often overlooked in traditional narratives. As we have already noted, in April of 1861, as the Civil War began, Robert E. Lee faced a heart-wrenching decision there at Arlington House. Resigning from the U.S. Army to join the Confederacy, he thus left his home vulnerable due to its strategic location, just 3 miles from the White House. On May 24, 1861, Union forces occupied Arlington House, transforming the plantation into a military stronghold to protect Washington, D.C. Mary Custis Lee, having been warned of the impending occupation, fled with their children, never to return as residents. By 1864, General Montgomery C. Meigs ordered burials on the estate's grounds, thus ensuring the Lees could not reclaim their home. This act, it birthed Arlington National Cemetery, a poignant symbol of the war's toll. The Lee family, they received no compensation during Lee's lifetime, with payment delayed until the 1880s, long after his death. Lee lamented the loss, writing in 1861, quote, "It is painful to think of the occupation of our home by strangers," end quote. The seizure of Arlington House, it marked a profound personal loss, severing Lee's ties to the estate, an estate that he had called home for 30 years. After surrendering at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865, Lee returned to Richmond, Virginia, facing an uncertain future.
Well done, gentlemen. Indeed, a momentous occasion.
Pardoned by President Lincoln, Lee was not arrested or punished for his Confederate service, though he did lose his right to vote and some property. In September of 1865, Lee accepted the presidency of Washington College in Lexington, Virginia. It was a struggling institution with a modest salary of $1,500 a year. He chose this role believing it inappropriate to profit from his wartime fame, and dedicated himself to educating young men to rebuild the nation. At Washington College, Lee transformed the institution, introducing innovative programs in journalism, engineering, and law, and linking them with liberal arts. He emphasized student self-governance, laying the foundation for the university's honor system. Recruiting students from both North and South, Lee sought to foster national unity, stating in 1865, quote, "I think it is the duty of every citizen in the present condition of the country to do all in his power to aid in the restoration of peace and harmony," end quote. His leadership revitalized the college, which was renamed Washington and Lee University after his death. Lee's post-war life, it was marked by personal and financial hardships. The loss of Arlington House left his family displaced, and they lived modestly in Lexington. In 1865, Lee signed an amnesty oath to restore his U.S. citizenship, encouraging other Confederates to do the same. However, the oath was misplaced, and he remained without full citizenship at his death. His health declined, and on October 12, 1870, Lee died of heart failure in Lexington at the age of 63. He was buried in the University Chapel, now part of Washington and Lee University. He was buried alongside his family. Lee's legacy is complex, but should be studied in light of the times. His efforts to promote reconciliation had earned him praise, with contemporaries noting that his role was vital in restoring peace after a war that claimed the lives of 620,000 Americans. Lee's post-war years, they reflect a man navigating personal loss while striving to heal a divided nation. Pierre Charles L'Enfant, often referred to as Peter Charles L'Enfant, he was a French-born engineer and architect whose visionary design of Washington, D.C. left an indelible mark on the nation's capital. His burial in front of Arlington House, now part of Arlington National Cemetery, is a significant historical detail, especially given Arlington House's association with Robert E. Lee and its transformation during and after the Civil War. Born on August 2nd, 1754 in Paris, France, Pierre Charles L'Enfant came to America in 1777 during the Revolutionary War. He joined the Continental Army as a volunteer. He served with distinction, obtaining the rank of Major of Engineers, and he worked under figures like the Marquis de Lafayette. After the war, his reputation grew through civil engineering projects, notably redesigning New York City's City Hall. In 1791, President George Washington commissioned him to design the new federal city on the Potomac River, now Washington, D.C. Despite his contributions, L'Enfant faced financial struggles and professional setbacks, dying on June 14, 1825, with minimal assets. He was initially buried in an unmarked grave on Digges Farm, also known as Green Hill in Prince George's County, Maryland. L'Enfant's burial site was not forgotten, and appreciation for his achievements, they grew in the decades following his death. In 1908, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Washington, they requested a suitable burial site at Arlington Cemetery. And on December 17, 1908, Secretary of War Luke E. Wright approved the relocation. This prominent location was chosen to honor his contributions, offering a panoramic view of Washington, D.C., the city he designed. The gravesite was formally dedicated with a monument in 1911, further cementing his legacy. L'Enfant's burial at Arlington House serves as a lasting tribute to his visionary contributions to American urban planning. His gravesite, with its view of Washington, D.C., symbolizes the enduring impact of his design, which shaped the nation's capital. The relocation in 1909, initiated by the D.C. Board of Commissioners and approved by the Secretary of War, well, it reflects a growing recognition of his role. This act also aligns with the broader history of Arlington National Cemetery, which honors notable figures, including military and civilian leaders. Robert E. Lee's loss of Arlington House was a profound personal blow, yet it did not define his final years. As president of Washington College, Lee channeled his energies into education, fostering reconciliation and shaping a new generation. Despite losing his home, voting rights, and facing health challenges, Lee's commitment to unity, well, it left a lasting impact. His death in 1870, it marked the end of a life dedicated to rebuilding. But debates about his legacy persist, reflecting the complexities of America's Civil War era. Arlington House, now a national memorial. It stands as a reminder of both loss and resilience, inviting us to reflect on a pivotal challenge in America's history. Arlington House, it is more than a historic home. It is a lens through which we view America's complex past. The lives of George and Mary Custis intertwined with Washington's legacy, while it shaped the estate's early years. The deaths of Mr. and Mrs. Custis and their burials on the grounds marked the beginning of Arlington's transformation into a national cemetery. Robert E. Lee's management of the inherited enslaved people and his conflicted views on slavery, well, they give us an insight into the moral and economic dilemmas of his era. Selina Gray's courage in preserving the Lee family's possessions and her post-war correspondence with Mary Custis Lee, well, that underscores the vital roles played by enslaved individuals, and yet what was clearly a unique and special relationship between the two. Today, Arlington House invites us to reflect on duty, sacrifice, slavery, freedom, and the full spectrum of American history. And yet, I'm afraid the full spectrum of American history is often not being considered when the topic is Robert E. Lee. Sadly, revisionist historians are leaving out the complexities of the issues of the day, the moral dilemmas, and even the serious and personal convictions that Robert E. Lee himself had about slavery. Sadly, many of the prominent historical figures of the South are maligned, and their stories are used to divide Americans. You see, many of these figures, they believe strongly in state rights. They believe strongly in the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Powers the federal government has are limited and expressed, and the unlisted powers belong to the states and respective people thereof. Many individuals, like Robert E. Lee, saw the states, in his case Virginia, as a sovereign state, and believe that the role of the federal government should indeed be limited. Sadly, often when figures like Robert E. Lee are discussed, these facts are left out of the discussion. And thus, great American men like Robert E. Lee are diminished, and their true concerns about what the Civil War was really all about are wiped away. But that is the goal of progressives, of Marxists, who want a strong federal government that overshadows state rights and individual liberties and freedom. Robert E. Lee, indeed, an American historical figure that should be studied in the context of his times and his complete worldview. Thank you for joining us for Worldview Tube's history of the Arlington House and Robert E. Lee. All right, did you enjoy that? That was awesome. And I think Logan did an amazing job on the post-production, as well as the filming there. So anyway, Logan and I, we did the whole thing, the two of us. That's right. That's a father-son team there, folks. We're knocking them down, knocking them out, and putting them out. And we've got more coming. I think the next one will be on the Space Shuttle Discovery, right, Logan? We got a lot more to go, folks. And again, this is kind of stuff we're putting up at worldviewtube.com/history. worldviewtube.com/history. We'll get this one posted at WorldviewTube so you can share it with family and friends that maybe want to see it as well, okay? All right, let's take a quick break. Come back with Dr. Bashima. We'll be right back.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. Join me now is Dr. Bashima Williams. We're going to talk about several things. Here's a new report out. The fertility rate in the U.S. dropped to an all-time low in 2024 with less than 1.6 kids per woman. That's what new federal data shows. And, of course, our buddy Nick Hulscher put out this report, as you know. mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease. And then, of course, I think oxidative stress is in all of this and more. Joining us is Dr. Bashima Williams. We're glad to have you here on Worldview Tube, Dr. Bashima. And of course, you know, we have not only this channel, but we have worldviewtube.com/health. We have a 24-hour-a-day home and health channel at worldviewtube.com/health. And the traffic on that thing is really high. Apparently, lots of people like watching health stories and interviews like this. They find, I don't know if I said this to you last week, but I have a friend of mine. He's probably, about 6'2"? What do you think? 6'2", 325, Logan? 300? He is a big boy. He's a big Southern redneck boy. I don't think he would be offended by my saying that. You think he's 6'4", 6'5"? Yeah, he's an old football player. Big, rough, tough fisherman, hunter. And he called me about 10 days ago and told me how much I love listening to your health channel and listening to Dr. Bashima. And I was stunned. I was not expecting that. I thought he only listened to sports channels. He's like, I could just listen to that stuff for hours. So I was stunned by that. What do you think?
What's his name? What's his name?
His name is Vic.
Hey, Vic, thank you so much. I love that you love listening, and I love teaching. My kids actually joke. They're like, you became a doctor so you can become a teacher, didn't you? Like,
well, Vic, you made Vic's day. You made Vic's day. I can promise you that.
Well, you want to hear something else funny? I was in Kansas City this weekend, and my friend just sent me a text and said, hey, I just listened to you on this show called Worldview. You're famous. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you find me on that show? She said Spotify. I had no idea I was on Spotify.
Yes, we were on Spotify. So one of your friends found you on our network.
Yep. And she had no idea that I talk with you on a regular basis. So
there you go.
That's really cool. And you know what? That's one of my blessings is being a teacher and making things understandable, because I can understand what people don't understand. But also, I love teaching and helping and preventing disease. If we can do that, we're hitting a home run.
We are hitting a home run. You got that right. And by the way, I forgot. I hope you're coming. I hope you marked your calendar Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. We talked about you and Mike coming to the Mid-South, but remember our national conference is in Collierville, right outside of Memphis. I think Tina's planning on being here, your sister.
Yeah, I probably will. I can't guarantee you my homebody husband is going to want to come, but we'll try to, it's just a car drive, so it shouldn't be too bad.
But you know what? Sounds like your husband and I would get along really well, because I hate to travel, and my wife's always saying the same thing. It's just a home. Hey, honey, Dr. Bashima's husband. Dr. Bashima's husband hates traveling too, babe. He's a homebody, like I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So She's always trying to get me in a car. It's just a car ride, like you just said. All right, let's go to this. Breaking news. mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease.
Yeah, so I have not, and you know, this is something that you just now showed me.
Yeah, I did.
Just before we got on the show. And you know, so I haven't actually read this article, so I just want to throw that out there. But I do want to say, in general, any kind of anything that causes inflammation within your body is going to cause an increase in reactive oxygen species. So whether it's a virus, I'm not quite sure how they're really relating this to mRNA and the mitochondria, which is where some of that type of DNA exists. But the bottom line is what we're seeing here is an increase in reactive oxygen species, the ROS that's inside of that mitochondrial cell. But you know what we need to understand as a general society is there are a lot of things that are causing reactive oxygen species, whether it's EMF, toxins that we're being exposed to, whether we're ingesting them orally or we're being exposed to them through the fumes that we're breathing in. One of the biggest causes of reactive oxygen species is our diet. And not only what we're eating, like say, for example, we're eating the bad oils, the rancid oils, you know, the fish oils even that are rancid and have been sitting on a shelf for a long period of time versus the fresh ones that are, you know, pure and clean. And people not understanding that omega-3 oil goes rancid quickly, or eating the wrong seed oils, or eating too many saturated fats, or eating a diet that's high in sugar. All those things cause a significant increase in reactive oxygen species. And the problem is that our body can only take so much. And so there's this little seesaw, you know, depiction of, you know, where you're making antioxidants, and then you're also getting more reactive oxygen species. And also, is your diet rich in oral antioxidants? Are you taking in oral antioxidants? And are you giving your body the things it needs to make good oxidative, basically, the antioxidants are quelching or putting out the fires that the oxidative stress are causing.
Wow. Let's go to this one real quick. The deal with fertility rate. I guess it's dropped at a historic low for 2024. Women are only having 1.6 kids. 1.6 kids per woman in America. I think I read a study the other day, Dr. Bashima. 1 in 4 adults, or kids, young adults, will remain single. 1 in 4. And I think that's by choice, a lot of them. This is not a good trajectory for us. And this may be one reason why they wanted to have the borders down and open and liberal immigration policies. I don't know. I still think, it's just my opinion, we are going to see some kind of amnesty program. We're going to see something where a lot of folks are allowed to stay or brought back in for the fact that our population is declining and we need workers. And apparently we in some of these entitlement programs, a lot of Americans just don't want to work. And sadly, according to Nick Hulscher and all these other guys I've interviewed, we have a lot of people that are disabled now from the shot. They're out of the workforce. Millions of them are out of the workforce and missing because of disabilities from the shot. Not to mention those that have died and are dying, but that trend is still going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is one of those things where we really, really need to increase how we take care of our bodies. But, you know, going back to the 1.6 children per woman, and we don't know if that is because, and I don't know if it says it on there, but I don't know if that is because women are unable to get pregnant or because they don't want to have that, you know, a large number of kids. Also, just
look here, it says here, more women are waiting longer to have children or never taking that step at all.
And that is the problem. The longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to actually have, have that the actualization of actually bearing a child, because, and also you're at higher risk for complications with pregnancy and also with baby. So then you get to a certain age and you're like, you know, maybe I just don't want to have a child. So yeah, waiting to get pregnant, maybe not getting, delaying pregnancy, delaying marriage, and therefore also delaying pregnancy. career jobs and opportunities for women, not allowing them to necessarily get pregnant. And also, unfortunately, I do have to say, in my practice, a lot more women with things that are very much, since we're talking a lot about reactive oxygen species, antioxidants, and things like that, hopefully in the next couple segments, one thing I will tell you is the number one cause of infertility in my practice is PCOS, and PCOS is caused by insulin resistance most of the time. And most of the time, insulin resistance is caused by being overweight, not always, but by being overweight. So in some cases, overinflamed or too much reactive oxygen species in your body. And this is where we actually saw in our practice in real time, the vaccine definitely affected a lot of my patients' periods. They all of a sudden had really heavy periods, no periods in some cases, and hair loss and all sorts of other things that were specific to female hormones after their vaccine. And it took us about 6 to 12 months to re-regulate everything. And that was with a lot of hard work and really turning down the inflammatory processes that were going on in their bodies.
So here it says here, people are marrying later and also worried about their ability to have the money, health insurance, and other resources needed to raise children in a stable environment. 1.6 babies per woman is the headline, but how's that relate? Let's give some grounding here. In the early 1960s, total fertility rate was around 3.5, plummeted to 1.7 by 1976 after the baby boom ended. It gradually rose to 2.1 in 2007 before falling again, aside from a 2014 uptick. The rate in 2023 was 1.62 and inched down in 2024 to 1.59, according to the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics.
Yeah, so I think according to this, it seems like it's largely a social, economics issue, not so much a physical issue.
Right.
Though some can argue that physical issues do play a role, because if you wait too long, then you may be fearful of having a child with disabilities because the rate goes up when you wait, the longer you wait to have children. And that's a real fear by a lot of women. You know, you have 2 kids and you're 35 and you're trying to decide if you should have a third one or not. And you're being told, well, now you're in a high risk population. And that really plays on our, on my female patients' minds.
Let's talk a little bit more about antioxidant stresses and whatnot.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to bring this up is you had a really good point of, hey, I really want a great antioxidant because you're all about prevention. And so if we can prevent, then we can, we don't have to deal with the treatment later on. And so why is having sort of and we had talked a little bit about this, but really living an antioxidant sort of lifestyle, right? Keeping the inflammation in your body low at all times with all different ways. When I treat my patients, I'll tell them a lot of times, think of your body as a burning house, and you don't have just one hose. You have about 5 or 6 hoses that you are going to try to put this fire out. And so putting out the oxidative stress in your body is going to require you to sleep better. It's going to require you to reduce stress and regulate. By reducing stress, it helps you regulate your stress hormone called cortisol and insulin better. And if you can regulate insulin better, then you regulate blood sugars better. But the oxidative stress that's happening to us day in, day out, with all the things that we are being exposed to on a regular basis, such as EMF. And I think we had a EMF discussion at one point with how it affects cells and significantly increases reactive oxygen species within a cell. Sunlight exposure, again, the UV lights are damaging. Things like tobacco use or excessive alcohol, excessive exercise is even very stressful. But probably one of the biggest ones that I see in my practice is either illnesses like viruses or bacteria because of a process called phagocytosis that has to happen, and the oxidative burst that has to happen whenever your body intercepts something that shouldn't be there. You know, like we talked about leaky gut and all the things going through the gut and immune system being right there. And it's literally, it's your immune system, your initial immune system response is to literally make peroxide and break down the foreign invader so that it doesn't affect your body. If you're doing that day in, day out all the time because of, you know, leaky gut or your diet, then you have a problem. But the other big thing, do you know how toxic having a high blood sugar level is?
No.
And do you know why? Blood sugar is probably one of the biggest, high blood sugar is probably one of the biggest reactive oxygen species maker in your body. And that is because glucose reacts with proteins and lipids in the blood, and it produces something called advanced glycated end products. And what these do is we term them AGEs or AGE, and there's actually RAGEs, RAGE receptors for these age products that actually bind to these cell receptors and actually induce a horrible pro-inflammatory response. And we call it, in functional medicine, one of our teachers called it sticky bun disease because, you know, if your blood has a lot of sugar in it and it's kind of sticky, then you're going to be making a lot of these glycated end products. And that advances your age at the cellular level so much. And that's one reason why fasting 14 hours every day is a really good thing to do. But high blood sugar can kill you. And so what does the body do? The body, if you're eating a lot of sugar and you can't get the sugar inside of a cell, once the sugar is inside of the cell, then it's not just floating around in your bloodstream anymore. So that's good. So we want insulin to open up to get the glucose into the cell so that you can actually make energy out of it. But if you're not able to do that, like in a diabetic's case, and your blood sugar is chronically 300, you're advancing your age so fast. And so you've got to get your blood sugars regulated. This is why even in my non-diabetics, we are using continuous glucose monitors so that they understand how food is affecting their body. So food and sugar especially is one of the biggest causes of aging. And when we talk about aging, we're not talking about, you know, looking older. We're talking about the cells working less efficiently. And that's when problems start to occur. DNA damage, cancers, and other diseases start to happen the more reactive oxygen species you have. Now, on the flip side, as you know, one of the best antioxidants that quench up these negatively charged electrons is glutathione. And so we really, really like glutathione. We love eating an antioxidant-rich diet, so lots of color in your food, but we also want to be careful to not put food and things into our body that raise our blood sugar and cause a whole bunch of other harm.
Let's go to this real quick because we have, now this is online. The hidden burden, oxidative stress. So this is a brand new supplement we've worked together to develop. We're announcing it here now for the first time. They can now order it if they go to myvitamin.com/worldview. If you do that, the /worldview, it'll bring you right to this page. So tell us about this.
Yeah, so these supplements are the 3 capsules. If you scroll down, you might be able to actually see a picture of them. And these have a lot of really some of my very favorite antioxidants in them. Number 1 is the NAC. NAC stands for N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine is your body's rate limiting step to making that glutathione that we just talked about. The nice thing about having NAC in your system all the time is that as your body needs the glutathione, you will be able to then make it on your own versus you taking just straight up glutathione, which then gets used up right away in 2 hours, and then you don't have any left for the rest of the day. So making sure you're always having a good dose of NAC is a really good idea for antioxidants. That bright yellow capsule, that is the turmeric, and that is, you know, when you talk to functional medicine cancer doctors, and I've talked to a lot of them, and you ask them for one of their top, what are their top 3 favorite supplements, almost always turmeric is one of them. The thing with this turmeric is that you do have to have it in a capsule where you know how to make this difficult to absorb nutrient highly absorbable. And that's what I love about the technology that we use. This is a turmeric that's very highly absorbable and therefore highly available to the cells for the potent antioxidant effect. It does so many things. It activates something called the NRF2 activation system, which is the opposite of making inflammation. It actually is churning down inflammation. So I love that. It also is a natural chelator for heavy metals, which we are all constantly being exposed to.
So there.
Now that last sort of purplish brown pill, that one is chock full of a whole bunch of natural, organic polyphenols. Polyphenols are what's in plants naturally. So all these amazing polyphenols, everything is fresh. We don't make anything ahead of time. Nothing sits on a shelf. And I think that that's really, really important if you want something that's actually going to work. But I want to be very clear, while this is a very, very, very great, it's a great pack. It has a whole bunch of other things in it, including vitamin A, some C, a little D3, some zinc. So it's got all that combined in those 3 capsules. But what I really want to make sure that we understand is taking these capsules will not outperform a bad diet. And so we really want to focus on eating a good whole foods diet. And if I may, I want to just make some general recommendations that I make for my patients. Number 1 is that you eat about 5 or 6 servings of good, healthy oils every day. The healthy oils are the monounsaturated fats, primarily the avocado and olives, and then also making sure you get some good, clean omega-3 fats. I mentioned earlier that when you ingest rancid fats that are old, this is one of the reasons why when you get good quality olive oil, it's in a dark glass container, because light causes oxidative stress to happen. So it denatures the type of oil that you have. It denatures some of the bonds in the oil. So now you're putting something rancid or bad or sort of old in your body, and your body has to deal with that. Now, if you have fresh fish, that's awesome. So fish is a great source of omega-3. Chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts are all great. Flax seeds, you do want to grind those freshly. Already ground flaxseed, because omega-3 oil is so sensitive to temperature changes. If you grind it early, it'll go rancid quickly. It's also a reason why I don't recommend, in general, flaxseed oil, because I haven't found a great one, to be honest.
Really?
But fresh flaxseed, really good. So that's sort of the oils. I can talk a little bit about the carbs and proteins in a second if you want. If you have any questions about the fats.
I don't think so. Do you have any foods that I would like? Because I don't like avocados, and I don't think you named one thing I like.
Number 1, this is why we put every single person on a fish oil, because fish oil actually shuts down inflammation in many different pathways, but it also competes with the pro-inflammatory pathway. So everyone should take a good, clean fish oil, which we have in every single one of our foundational packs. So if you're going to do a antioxidant pack, you should combine it with a foundational pack. We're actually going to have that on our website very soon as well. Them together rather than buying 2 boxes separately. So
if I don't get my oils from the things you mentioned, taking the fish oil will supplement, not having to eat avocados, which I don't want to do. Logan loves avocados and making avocado dip. He loves that, not me.
I'm going to have to make it for you because it is amazing. My problem is I eat too much of it. But the other thing too, the other secret that I have a lot of my patients do is I will have them, you like olive oil for your salads and stuff? Is that okay?
Olive oil? I guess I prefer ranch or vinegar.
Yeah, so see, you want to get rid of the inflammatory foods. Those are kind of inflammatory. Okay, so the other place you can add the olive oil is to your salads. Obviously, you can eat olives, but one other thing I do a lot is I actually have frozen. I actually chop up my avocados, put them in the freezer, and I put them in my smoothies. You can't taste them, but boy, does it make that smoothie creamy. So it's actually really good. You can also, there's also recipes for avocado chocolate pudding that's actually full of antioxidants.
Avocado chocolate pudding.
Yeah, it's actually, look that recipe up. It's amazing. So you can definitely do that as well.
Is there real chocolate in that?
It's cocoa powder. Yeah, and then you can put a little stevia in it just to not have a high glycemic index.
Does it taste like chocolate pudding?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Wow. I actually love it, but I have a bias towards I love avocado, so I don't know if it tastes too much like avocados because I love it anyway. So I went, so it is a treat, and you don't need much, just a little tiny bit after dinner, so good. But the other things you want to really, really watch is your carbohydrates. Your carbohydrates are anything that's not a protein or a fat is a sugar, which is what a basic carbohydrate unit is. And with the sugars, you want to make sure you're eating about 3 cups of vegetables a day and 1 non-starchy vegetables. And then you also want 1/2 to 1 serving of a starchy vegetable and also a little bit of a grain like brown rice, purple rice.
I love brown rice.
Yeah, or lentils or something like that. Those are all grains those are all high in fiber too. And those are the carbohydrates you want to have in your diet. Those are the ones that are not going to be spiking your blood sugars like say a piece of white bread is.
No, I don't do bread, remember, off bread. But what about my beloved cream corn and my beloved butter beans?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's in that recipe, but cream corn is very much a mimicker of gluten. So people who are sensitive to gluten, which we're going to check with you, by the way. So we know you're probably not celiac, but we're going to check for non-celiac gluten sensitivity when we do your specialty labs.
Okay.
Those people, we get them off corn as well because there's too much cellular mimicry with those.
But what about my butter beans?
I'm not sure what's in your, is it just butter beans? Just those big beans? Those are fine. Those are okay.
Usually you're using baby butter beans.
Yeah, those are totally fine.
What about my black-eyed peas?
Yeah, those are fine too. But again,
my tomatoes?
Yeah, I think your tomatoes are fine. Mm-hmm.
Cucumbers?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, we're good. We're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing really good. You got to watch how much and all that kind of stuff. We created a course that goes through all of this. But then, of course, your protein, you want to talk to your doctor about your protein if you have any kidney disease.
I think you're my doctor, so I think we're doing that right now. Yeah. I don't have a doctor. What kind of protein? Like steak?
Yeah, you can have steak like once a week if you want, but what we want to focus on first with protein is making sure that we're getting a good amount every week. So every day. So we want to range between 0.4 to 1. That's a wide range. So 0.4 to 1 gram per pound. So if you weigh 100 pounds, then you could have 40 to 100 grams of protein. And the range is specifically for, and this is where you talk to your doctor about it. So since you're pretty healthy, I would give you a 0.8 range, 0.8 grams per pound goal to get to. And that is a lot of protein, but we need our protein. What we're doing in this society, when you look at the macronutrient distribution of what we're eating about 80% carbs every day. And that's not okay. That's going to make you obese. It's going to significantly increase reactive oxygen species, type 2 early onset diabetes, all sorts of bad things. And obviously, when we start getting more oxidative stress in our body, more cancers, that was one of the biggest reasons I went functional is when I was looking at the statistics of patients working with functional medicine doctors had a significantly less likelihood of developing cancers. And that was all because we were decreasing the inflammation in their body.
What about blood types? Does blood type matter as to what I eat? There's
a blood type book, and some people swear by it, but in my practice, I have not found that to be true.
Okay. What about like my daughter and I? My daughter was just here with my granddaughter, and my daughter says, she said to my wife, I'm basically dad, and she is very much like me. We're very similar in what we will eat, what we won't eat, what we like, what we don't like. And we're very similar in our blood sugar as far as I don't know, you'll have to tell me if there's even a test for this, but I have at least the assumption that I probably have hypoglycemia. Is that what you say?
Hypoglycemia?
Yeah. Because I have to be very careful about my diet throughout the whole day and keeping my blood sugar, because it doesn't take much for me to all of a sudden be feeling very jittery, shaky, just not feeling good. And if I can get my blood sugar back up, I'm great. My daughter's the same way. What does that say to you?
The number one thing it says to me is you should do a continuous glucose monitor test. Okay, so just where you wear, where you wear this monitor, so you can really keep a close eye on your blood sugars 24/7. And the biggest thing that tells me is that you're probably eating way too many carbs and not enough proteins and fats with your food.
And carbs would be?
Anything that's not a protein or a fat is a carbohydrate, which is a sugar.
So watermelon?
Watermelon, peaches, potatoes, anything on if it's not a piece of meat or a fat, then it's a sugar.
Okay, I'm a big baked potato guy.
Yeah.
I love watermelon and apples. I do apples.
Yeah. All of those will raise your blood sugar really high, and then insulin goes up really high, and then blood sugar goes down after an hour and a half. Insulin stays high for a little bit longer, because remember, insulin's half-life is a little bit longer, about 3 to 4 hours. So now we have insulin still high. Well, then your brain's going to get a message that you're becoming hypoglycemic, not because you're so great at utilizing sugar, but because you've created too much insulin. And that is no good. Too much insulin is no good. You want just the right amount of insulin. Too much insulin is a growth hormone. So it will make you grow in areas you don't want to grow, specifically in the fat cells. So a lot of times when you have a lot of insulin, you're going to get the sugar into the cell, but then you're going to end up hypoglycemic. And the only thing that makes you feel better is more sugar.
Oh, so that's why when I feel that way, I go for a handful of chocolate chips to try to regulate, because I either go for a 7-Up or Sprite or a handful of chocolate chips, because I'm like, my sugar's low. And then within a little bit, I'm starting to mellow out a little bit. But I generally also know I generally feel like, okay, I know that's going to crash, but I generally try to follow up with either a hamburger without the bread, when I was eating. It's crazy because I would also get headaches. So I'm like, if I could get a really greasy hamburger, I can get rid of this headache and get feeling normal. And there's a local hamburger joint, and I would run up there and get a hamburger, nice, big, juicy, and within an hour, I was back. A headache, the whole night. But generally what I do, since I'm off gluten, is I will have to get some chocolate chips with a Sprite, and then I will ask Melissa to get me something like a salad with a lot of tomatoes, lettuce, something. I know I need something to offset, not just crashing on that sugar too.
Yeah. So a couple things you can do. And one thing I would do immediately is never, ever, ever eat without a protein and a fat. Okay. And also probably some vegetables. So what we generally have people do to decrease the risk of something called reactive hypoglycemia, which is what you have, then what you want to do is you want to make sure you are eating your vegetables first, your non-starchy vegetables first. They create something called a fiber net inside of your gut, so it decreases how fast glucose can be absorbed.
Are we talking like butter beans? Are we talking butter beans? Are we talking green beans?
We're talking broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, any non-starchy vegetables. If you just type in non-starchy vegetables, zucchini is great. Yeah.
I like zucchini.
Start with that plus your protein, and then make sure you add a little fat to that food. So what I do with my vegetables, a lot of times, if I steam something on the stove, I'll steam it because I don't like to, I don't cook my oils, because remember, heat plus oil is bad. Okay. If nothing else today, heat plus oil, and no matter where the heat comes from, whether it's cooking or light source, getting in and creating those chemical changes in the oil, or even if we, our society that's chemically processing the oil, that's why a lot of seed oils are particularly bad, because we're chemically processing them with heat or chemicals. So we have no idea what in the world you're really getting into your body when you're eating those bad, rancid for you, bad oils. So if nothing else, steam the vegetables with water, Get rid of the water when you're done cooking them. Put them back in the pan and sprinkle a little fresh olive oil, a little squirt of lemon juice on top. And that broccoli or cauliflower, asparagus, whatever it is you're cooking is delicious that way. And that's it. Put it on your plate. Now you've got your healthy fat with your vegetables, which will also help you absorb the very, very important fatty, fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins K, A, D, E, which a lot of them your body can't even make. So you have to take them through your diet. So it'll help with that. It'll help regulate blood sugar. So you want to eat your vegetables, fats, and proteins together. And what you want to say for the very end is anything that's higher in sugar, your brown rice, your watermelon, your peaches, whatever it is that you want to eat last should be the highest in sugar. And really, you want to try to eat natural sugar. So I'm not talking about a chocolate chip cookie. But I had a kid who was 12 years old. I got to tell you this story. Who was 12 years old, who would wake up in the morning and have such severe nausea that he would not be able to stop throwing up from 8 until 10 a.m. And he would do this for about 3 times a month. And he went to go see, and his mom is super smart. She's a nurse. His dad's an EMT, but like captain of the fire department. He's actually captain. So, they're really smart parents. But he was throwing up. And what they ended up doing, they went to gastroenterologists, they went to endocrinologists, and no one could really figure it out. So when they came to me, I said, this really sounds like reactive hypoglycemia. Let's put a continuous glucose monitor on him and see what happens. And sure enough, every time his blood sugar would drop down into the 40s, which is not uncommon for our little kiddos who don't have a lot of reserve, these skinny little tall kids.
Yeah.
That's what he was. And so what we did is we significantly changed his diet in the way that I just told you. And he has not had another event. And I think it's been like 6 or 7 months now. I only had to see him one time.
Wow.
Because we diagnosed and treated him that one time because that's what it is. But if you don't understand that physiology, then you wouldn't know how, and unfortunately you sort of have to understand sort of everything. You can't just understand why he's having this quote cyclic vomiting. And that's what he was diagnosed with the gastroenterologist. You have to have a reason for it. Like, why is your body telling you to vomit? And one of the things your body does when you become hypoglycemic is it sends out a massive stress signal. So massive fight or flight stress signal to break down and scavenge and find any glucose it can anywhere it needs to find it. And so part of that whole stress reaction is vomiting.
That's interesting you say that, because I was saying to my wife, when my blood sugar drops, I feel like I've just had an adrenaline dump as well. I get the same feeling like you do when someone startles you, you really get scared at something, and you 100%. Have this adrenaline dump. I'm like, why is it that my blood sugar dropping feels like an adrenaline dump? And you just...
The number one reason why people have adrenal fatigue, which is where your cortisol and all your adrenaline hormones, epinephrine, norepinephrine, are made, the number one reason is hypoglycemia over and over and over again. And what we tell our patients, this is really, really cool, Brandon, is women who are having hot flashes, they become more sensitive to cortisol and let me just show you really quick. There's something called a hormone hierarchy. Mm-hmm. On the bottom of the hormone I just drew this for another patient, but on the bottom.
How did you know to pull that out? We didn't prep. we didn't talk about this in advance.
But I have a whole bunch of other things on here. But anyway, the bottom of the hormone hierarchy is cortisol and insulin. You can't live without these hormones. All these other hormones on top, the testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, all these, I don't care about these. So if you're a woman who comes in to see me and you're not having a period and can't get pregnant, I don't care. If I don't fix this, you're not going to get pregnant. And so this is what we really focus on. So a lot of women, when they go through perimenopause, start having those darn hot flashes at night. If we can regulate their insulin at nighttime, by changing how they eat. And the way they change how they eat is what I just told you. Get rid of all the stuff that's in boxes and packages and all that stuff, and really focus on, the foods that you're eating, the order that you're eating them in, and then also stopping eating after dinner. So no late night snacks, no alcohol right before you go to bed. Your hot flashes go away. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Now, as you get closer and closer to menopause and go through menopause, it may not be the case, but initially for at least several years, your hot flashes go away, and vice versa. You have a crappy diet, you're probably going to bottom out your blood sugars at 3 a.m. You're probably going to wake up in a little sweat because your blood sugar bottomed out, not because, why am I having a hot flash today? It's literally a physiological phenomenon. So yeah, the number one cause is all the blood sugars dipping out. And it's not because you've got a super efficient system. Some people think, oh, because I have hypoglycemia, I have a super efficient system because it's better than hyperglycemia or too high of a blood sugar. That is not the case. You have a dysfunctional metabolic system because of what you're eating, and you can only control it with what you're eating, how you're exercising, how you're sleeping, what your stress level is like, all that kind of stuff. So
what about people? Yeah.
And we actually talk about this in our course.
And we're going to offer that course soon, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I can't wait, because this is something where I think that just such basic knowledge to me is life-changing to other people. And, so had you not brought up your hypoglycemic episode, we wouldn't be talking about it. And that too, by the way, causes a lot of oxidative stress.
What about now, if you have your hypoglycemia makes you feel like an adrenaline dump. Someone I know that was struggling with panic attack, I said, well, what you have to be careful to do is make sure that you don't go do these long fasting diet type things where your blood sugar drops, because your blood sugar dropping will make you feel like you're about to have a panic attack, and you're not having a panic attack. Your blood sugar is dropping, but the adrenaline dump can feel similar as you do with a panic attack. And it's that same feeling of your sugar dropping. So I'm not a doctor, right? But I just knew having the sugar drop felt like an adrenaline dump. And I know that panic attacks are really like an adrenaline dump. So I was saying to the person, if you are sensitive to panic attacks, I think you have to be careful to regulate your blood sugar, because your blood sugar dropping will feel like a panic attack coming on. And then you talk yourself into a panic attack when it's just you have low blood sugar. And I'm not a doctor, but I just figured that out from living, right? Right?
That's right. You're 100% right. And that is so true. That is actually why we do not recommend now. So then the other thing you need to know is the cortisol rhythm with your melatonin rhythm. And cortisol is highest in the morning and lowest at night. Okay. When it's high, you should be eating. When it's low, you should not be eating. Mm-hmm. And your body, this is how God created us. Your body at melatonin, high at night, creates a natural insulin resistance. In other words, your body naturally becomes more insulin resistant as you get closer to the evening. That way your blood sugars are not bottoming out when you're sleeping all night long, unless you've had a really bad diet and a lot of stress and things like that. You can safely, so a lot of my stressed out patients, I will have them safely fast from 7 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next day. The mistake a lot of my stressed out patients who want to fast make is they think they can wait until noon to eat. And that's not good. There are some other people who tend to be stressed out and also have panic attacks that also want to go work out in the morning and fast in the morning until noon. That is not okay for them. So these are the discussions we have. The best fast is a daily fast from 7 p.m. to 8 till 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. But I don't recommend fasting, especially for women. Men are a little different, but especially for women, I don't recommend generally fasting past 9. But definitely starting your fast the sooner the earlier. I try to start my fast around 5 p.m.
Wow.
5 or 6.
What about people waking up just out of their sleep? They wake up with a panic attack. Is that because their sugar is dropping and they're confusing that with?
It's one of the most common causes, because remember, when your sugar drops, if your blood sugar gets too low, you die. Okay. So what is that perceived as in the body? It's perceived as massive stress alert, similar to you getting chased by a tiger. Same, not exactly the same, but same physiological reaction in terms of a significant surge in norepinephrine, epinephrine, your adrenaline hormones, and then a significant surge in cortisol. Both sides. You have an endocrine and a nervous system response. And so then, yeah, you can wake up out of a dead sleep when that happens. And many people do. Many of my patients are like, I wake up every day at 2 or 3 in the morning. By the way, every single foundational pack has a magnesium that helps with that. It helps calm the brain down. It helps calm your system down. It's great for so many reasons, but one of the biggest things it does is it helps our patients stay asleep, which is nice.
Yes.
But it doesn't so that drop in blood sugar is a fight or flight response by your nervous system and your endocrine system.
Okay, then finally, what about my scrambled eggs and bacon?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Turkey bacon preferred. Yeah, scrambled eggs. What I generally tell my patients is with fat, remember, we say not too much saturated fat. We don't say no saturated fat. Saturated fat is any fat that comes from an animal that's solid at room temperature, generally butter, egg yolks, the fat in the bacon. So generally what I do with the bacon is turkey bacon, bake it in the oven. Don't mix it up in a pan and use all that grease that comes out of it. Dry it off with a little towel so that it's as little oil as possible. And then when you make your eggs, if you're going to have more than 1 egg, I would recommend 1 whole egg plus, 2 or 3 egg whites if you want to get more protein into your diet. The other thing too, if you want to do that, very, very, very important to add your vegetables in. Now, if you ate that for breakfast, 3 hours later, your blood sugars are not going to be bottoming out. You know why? Because your insulin never went up that high. Remember this too. Whenever insulin goes up high, that's not good, okay? And fat makes your insulin go up just a little tiny bit. Proteins, a little tiny bit. But carbohydrates, really high. And the more simple the carbohydrates are, in other words, a slice of bread, which I know you're not eating, but if you ate that with a piece of toast, well, now all bets are off because now you've just added some simple carbs. But if you eat just that with no toast and lots of, green bell peppers, red bell peppers, some onions, maybe even a little salsa, nothing wrong with that. Your blood sugars will not bottom out more than.
No, I love salsa. I like salsa. And I like the corn chips with salsa. And I know that's also low fat. So like on a weekend, I enjoy a salad, steak, and baked potato. Are you suggesting I should supplement the baked potato with something else?
If I did the baked potato, I would have a sweet potato. I would have anything with color because
I like sweet potato.
Yeah, have a sweet potato and make sure it's about the size of your fist, not like one of those big. There's some the size of my face that literally can cover my entire face. Right. Yeah. So get one about the size of your fist, but eat that last. Remember, that has more sugar in it than everything else on your plate. So eat your salad and your steak first, and then enjoy your sweet potato. In fact, when I eat sweet potato, I feel like I'm having dessert.
Yeah, I love sweet potato. You know what else I love? Acorn squash.
Awesome. That's awesome too.
Now, Melissa takes acorn squash and the little
slices it.
Yeah. Okay, you're probably going to not like this part. But then she puts in brown sugar.
Oh, get rid of the brown sugar.
And what else she puts in, maybe that's all she does is some butter and brown sugar, and she bakes it. Oh, my. You mix that up. Oh, my. Are you writing down on my naughty list or what there? Got a naughty list?
You're making reactive oxygen species with that sugar. You're destroying something good.
All right, so you're saying no brown sugar.
Why do you want more of these? You made this antioxidant pack to kill these things off. Why are you putting sugar into your
because
diet?
I didn't know that. Now you're helping me. So what you're saying now is that I can have my baby acorn squash, cut it in half and bake it, but no brown sugar in there.
Yeah, no brown sugar. You know what I do with mine is just touch it with just a little tiny bit of olive oil, and then I'll bake it. When you're baking, it's different with oils than when you're cooking on a stovetop because you can control the temperature better. So then I bake it at a low 285. As long as you don't get above 350, you're good. But on a stovetop, let's be real, who's checking their temperature?
Right.
Like if you're like cooking broccoli with some olive oil and you've got a thermometer in there, good for you, but most of us don't. And plus, so once that oil goes bad, it's bad. Like you should not eat it. once it turns brown, and then it's like, well, I'll wait until it turns brown. Well, it's there, if you're at 400 degree, so anyway, I always like to play it safe with my oils. I don't want to give my body any extra work.
No, I agree with this. This is one of the most fascinating shows we've done yet, number one. But all of these shows are fascinating. No wonder, Logan, our streaming numbers on the Health Channel are so high. This is fascinating stuff, Logan.
You know what? Praise God for that and just give God all the glory, because I'm doing what I'm being called to do. You're doing what you're being called to do. And I'm telling you, just with people understanding how insulin works and not wanting to bump their insulin up and having some control over that will significantly reduce inflammation in people's bodies. And then if they want to add the vitamins, great. I mean, it supports all of us. That's added, but definitely not, it's definitely not the first thing you do, but it's definitely an important thing to do if you're trying to achieve ultimate health and wellness.
Excellent. Look at this, folks. We just launched it. myvitamin.com/worldview. myvitamin.com/worldview. Now you got to go to that URL, use a worldview as the / if you want to end up on this page. This is brand new. I said, I want something powerful in antioxidants and these other things. And we came up with this, and we're so glad to be working with Dr. Bashima to do this. And now it's available at myvitamin.com/worldview. And I think we'll even take this and we will cut it into clips and send it over social media. And Logan, I think we should run this and make some articles out of this. Some great articles. Wow, fascinating. All right. Hope you and Dr. Mike have a great weekend.
Thanks. You guys too. Take care.
Thank you. myvitamin.com/worldview. And if you want to watch this again, folks, of course, we'll post it up at worldviewtube.com probably over the weekend, right, Logan? All right, folks, that's our broadcast for tonight. What a program. Don't forget, a lot of this will be put up online for you to watch again tomorrow or share with family and friends at Worldview Tube. And we're going to turn some of them into articles as well. Worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com. Now, if you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, and worldviewfoundation.com. Hey, I've been studying throughout the week, and I'm ready to teach lesson 43 on the book of Revelation as I finish out Revelation chapter 18 on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern Standard, as I'm teaching through the book of Revelation, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. That is our Sunday night church service, and that is our church, Worldview Foundation, the Worldview Foundation Church. And so you can make a contribution now there at worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you for your support. But tell all your family and friends about our studying through the book of Revelation together. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, at worldviewtube.com. So we'll see you Sunday night for that. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. Great job, Logan, on our Robert E. Lee Arlington House documentary. We'll get it posted on Saturday come on up, Dolly, say goodnight. We'll get it posted. Come on up. Come on. We'll get it posted at Worldview Tube. You want to say goodnight to everybody? Yeah. You're a good girl, aren't you? Yeah. You've been laying around sleeping a lot this week, haven't you? You know why? Because you're not as awake now, because Heyman went home. She was very busy following my granddaughter. Yeah, you're a good girl. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome. Glad you are with us. It is what is traditionally our Middle East update, Bible prophecy as well. And we're going to be joined by Dr. Andy Woods on this July 25th, 2025. All right. Now, tonight, we will be releasing on Brannon House Live at 7:30 Central. We'll be releasing and setting up for the release and the viewing of our brand new documentary on Robert E. Lee. It is amazing, guys, and so much history and truth about General Lee, his faith, what he thought about big federal government, what his passion for the constitutional state rights, and then, of course, also how he's being maligned